While talking about the Westland, we have been talking of some certain fragments in the beginning of Burial of the Dead, and we have been talking of this thing that how modern man is a heap of broken images, and nothing can be expected. And even this modern society and the modern world or modern man has become like a gloom of dry trees which cannot provide shelter, and there is no life in that. Modern society, modern civilization has become so deserted that there are just stones and no water is there. So it means that no life is there, and specifically it is this thing that there is no spiritual life, although materially they would have some sort of life within them. For this reason, he concludes that discussion with the thing that coming under the shadow of this rock, that because when trees cannot provide you shelter, then definitely you'll be going for the shelter of rock. That is really frustrating because the shelter of rock, the shadow of a rock cannot be as good as that of a tree. So all our living, I mean to say that modern man's living is not well satisfied. And then he says that uh, he says that in a time where other things are not available, then it is a kind of compulsion where man has to come to some sort of rescue. So that's why we are declining to, we are relying on uh, modern civilization, which is apparently dead, but it is still there. One point that a heap of broken images, uh, Bloom has talked about it, saying that this line specifically refers to the concept that even this poem itself is not a complete poem, but they are the fragments. And this discussion about this desert place is that it is the mark of this thing that previously there had been civilization, there had been spiritual life, but here at this moment there is no such thing as that. The last line, that is line number 30, I will show you here in a handful of dust. This fear is what? It is a fear of death. That human beings, they are uh, always afraid of death somehow. And if you are reading this in this COVID pandemic, so definitely it is really. Now we move from this to another section, and this is a reference to another thing. Another fragment has been incorporated into this discussion. There is, I think, some German words. Frisch with der Wind, der Himatsu mean Stein, wo willst thou? Which means that the wind blows fresh to the homeland. My Irish lady, where are you remaining? Fresh wind, the wind, fresh wind blow their so homeward. Then Irish kind, my Irish lady, who is thou, where are you remaining? So this is the meaning of that. Then this is one story, and the story is such that Uh, Wagner's opera, which was named Tristan and Isolde. This passage is taken from that place, and the title of this passage is Two Guilty Loves. Two Guilty Loves from Ireland. So they're talking about that. Then just four lines, and then we are moving to another fragment. And the second story is Guilty Love is that of a Hyacinth girl and her lover. The Hyacinth girl says to her lover, so she begins saying like this, you gave me Hyacinth's first a year ago. means you give me hyacinth flowers a year ago. They called me the hyacinth girl, and for receiving flowers from you, they called me like that. Yet when we came back later from the hyacinth garden, when we, you talking to his beloved or lover, when we returned from hyacinth garden, it was late. Your arms full and your hair wet, and that is the sensual love that they met to one another. So expression of that, I could not speak, and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead, and I knew nothing. That is a kind of state which is impelled by being in love. When you're obsessed with something, I've talked about obsession many times. So when you're obsessed, you don't know what is happening around you or what is happening even to you. And there is a kind of state in which a person cannot distinguish whether he is living or dead. And I mean nothing. I mean nothing. That is what she said. Looking into the heart of life, the silence. And then, I was just looking into the heart of life, and there was silence, and then again change of language, that is Ode and Veer Mas Das Veer, and which says that uh, this is a secret. Silence is secret of life, core of life. Silence is the core and secret of life. This is what she says. And directly we are we are jumping into another fragment. And in this other fragment, Madame Sosostris, a famous Floriante, had a beard old never. So Madame Sosostris was a fortune teller, uh, honest type people and were telling about the future. Had a beard cold nevertheless, but she was feeling sick. Is known to be the wisest woman in Europe, and she is very popular in fortune telling in the entire Europe with a wicked pack of cards, and she had cards with her. And here said she said to one of her customers, because she would be telling the fortune the people and people would be coming to her. So she said to one of her customers, Is your card the drowning Phoenician sailor? Your card is means your fortune is like a driven Phoenician sailor. Phoenician is referring to ancient Greek Trojan war story. What is happening here is that there is dual meaning in it. Sometimes when some person is drawn, he is described, but other times when a person is drawn, that person has got a rebirth. Uh, Shakespeare has referred to this in the Ariel song in the Tempest, where the drawn eye is changed, drawn man is changed into a pearl. So this drawing can be of two meanings, and this is what she is saying. So she is telling ambiguously that those are funds that were his eyes look. This is directly from uh, Shakespeare's The Tempest. Those are pearls that were his eyes look. Here is Belladonna, the lady of the rocks, the lady of situation. And we are now turning to another thing, that is we have stopped from our one fragment to another. Belladonna, the lady of the rocks, the lady of situation. Here is the man with east tails, and here the wheel, and there is the one-eyed merchant in this card, which is blank, and it is something he carries on his back, which I am forbidden to see. I do not find the hangman fear death by water. I see crowds of people walking around in a rain. Thank you. If you see there, Miss Ecoton, tell her I bring the horoscope myself. One must be so careful these days. Then Belladonna and the introduction of the card of the wheel like wheel fair or something like that that you've been talking about. So many people are coming into this thing that we have Belladonna, we have Lady of the Rocks, we have men with these tails, and we have wheel and merchant, and uh, so many people are there, and all these people are what they are fragments of life, and specifically the fragments which can be understood as a kind of dissatisfied life. Then he says that we are in an age of spiritual disintegration. This is what he finally remarks on this situation that is happening in the West End. Then from line 60 onward, sorry, in 57, where he says, Mrs. Ipotun, tell her I bring the horoscope myself. That I have horoscope is, it is also related to fortune telling. And so that he himself had brought this thing. One must be so careful these days, but this present day is so wonderful that one needs to be very careful while issuing any kind of statement. Then the unreal city under the brown fog of the winter dawn. Crowds flowed over London Bridge. So many, I had not thought that had undone so many. Sighs short and frequent were exhaled, and each man fixed his eye before his feet, flowed up the hill and down King William Street, to where Saint Mary would knock kept hours with a dead sound in the final stroke of mine. So, in this fragment, it is really wonderful, where he has directly referred to London, that London is a city with no values. So that's why it is better to call it an unreal city rather than. And what is happening when he is there in London and he is standing by the London Bridge and he sees that people are walking here and there. First thing is that under the brown fog of winter dawn, because it is early morning in the winter and he is standing on the bridge and he sees that it is fog all around. A kind of mist is there. A crowd flowed over London Bridge. So many people are walking across the London Bridge. I had not thought that had undone so many. And here in this line, he is referring to spiritual death. That I could never imagine that death could undo so many of these people when they are talking to one another. Sighs, short and frequent, and their conversation, because they are lacking in souls and spirituality in their conversation. Their conversation is short, it is full of sighs, and they are infrequent were exhaled, and they're just living physical life, but there is no spiritual life in them. And each man fixes his eyes before his feet. They do not have the courage to look anywhere else. They are mechanical. They are mechanical, and they are walking like machines, load up the hill and down King William Street. These are two places. They are going up to the hill and coming back down King William Street. To where Saint Mary would not keep the hours, and that there, kept the hours here means that timing is being declared by the church clock, the church bell, with a dead sound on the final stroke of 9, that it is 9 o'clock. So in this, what is happening here is the poet says that a big crowd of such people passing over the London Bridge. I cannot bear to see so many people walking while they are dead. This is really difficult for me that I'm standing and there are lots of people walking the bridge, but they are walking and still they are dead. They are spiritually dead, rather they are dead bodies. They walk because they eat and drink. So they think they are alive, but actually, because of their spiritual death, they cannot be considered as living human beings. And when they are mechanical in the sense that they talk less on genuine emotions and are more focused with their mechanics. So this is another reason of their spiritual decay. Then the final section of the burial of the dead, and it begins. There I saw one I knew and stopped him crying, Stetson, you who were with me in the ships at Melek, that corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year, or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? Oh, keep the dog far hence, that's friend to men, or with his nails he'll dig it up again. You hypocrite lecture, mon semblable mon fira. So the thing is that uh, Stetson and Wasteland, the central character who is Tarsius, uh, and who is the mouthpiece of T.S. Eliot, means he is talking on behalf of T.S. Eliot. So towards the end, now Tertius appears on the stage, as in ancient Greek tragedies and comedies, chorus would appear and sing a song. So appears on the stage and he addresses his friend Stetson, who is walking in London street, and he Tertius narrates the story. Suddenly, I saw a man whom I knew, and I stopped him and called him Stetson. Um, I told him, that is simply he is. I told him, or I asked him, you were with me in the ships at Malay, that you had been my companion on that ship. uh, and you had done something. Tell me about something. That is what to tell. That crops you had planted last year in your garden, had it begun to sprout? That the crops you had planted in your garden, has it is it re-emerging? Is it going towards a rebirth? Uh, will it bloom this year? Is there any chance that it will appear this year? Or has the sudden frost disturbed it? Or it is that spiritual failure has frost refers to spiritual failures. Or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed where it has been sown? So the spiritual frost has, spiritual failure has disturbed that place where it is written. Oh, then he is advising me, oh, keep the dog far hence. That's friend to men. Keep the dog away from that place, although he is friend to men, or with his nails he'll dig it up again. And if you don't keep that away, so what will happen that it will, that it's with his nail, it will dug up that corpse again. You hypocrite, lecture mon semblable uh, mon free. Here in this hypocrite reader and hypocrite literature and hypocrite brother, these all are referring to the hollowness of all the modern people who are shallow and who have little understanding of life in the thing. Now, what is happening that the this section was the burial of the dead. And in the last, we see that a corpse had been planted. Instead of burying, it was planted. And whenever something is planted, definitely when seeds are planted at that time, they are dead. But after some time, they re-emerge. Similarly, when there is a spiritual decay, there is spiritual destruction. So finally, there is a rebirth. And that's why he says that he is going to bury this corpse of modern civilization, which is thoroughly shallow and free, divide of spiritualism. So he is thinking of that thing, and he is referred to because we are relying in English literature. We are relying too much on Greek mythology. So in Greek mythology, there was this thing that Osiris, corn god Osiris. Corn god means who is bringing corns to the world. He was buried with construct for it, and that turned into fertility and great sowing season. So finally, Jesus Christ's death, that is being foreshadowed in the final, that his crucifixion is going to result in resurrection, and there will be a rebirth of this thing. So this is how the burial of the dead has completed. And it's all fragmentation. We do not have a unified single human being. We do not have a unified single story. There are fragments, and these different fragments are uh, forming something, not a complete form or not a complete section, uh, section even, but it is just making something all about fragmentation that is there.